Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. Now in this chat, I'd like to talk about how there is a huge industry of Asian provocateurs, honey trap setups, inserting actors and stage managing, orchestrating various incidents, and it can be wide-ranging as say, the FBI using Asian provocateurs and funding an alleged kidnap attempt on a US state politician, and or this recent event with the Facebook whistleblower that the media is breathlessly reporting and giving her a level of cred and publicity. But even from word one, it just seemed to be just a little bit too slick, a bit too well stage managed. This person, this woman, Haugen or Hager, whatever it was, had a just a very polished performance. Just someone off the street just wouldn't be this polished. She was edited in such a way by like 60 Minutes to make her look as hard-hitting and credible as possible. There was barely a negative word. In fact, I couldn't find a negative word about her anywhere. Certainly not in the mainstream media. Now, this all points to that it's a stage-managed, orchestrated setup. And I just want to talk a bit about that, this whole idea of how the government pays, or organs of government pay for stage-managed, orchestrated, scripted events in order to create influences within certain communities or sections of the community, or indeed the wider public. Now, I first, a few years ago, I came across this, and I hadn't realised the extent of it. There were just a few things I kind of bumped into by accident, really, but I went along to a meeting about a particular legal jurisdiction that was getting a bit of heat at the time, and it was to do with family violence, that sort of thing, and the laws should be really tightened to just arbitrarily arrest men and throw them in prison and evict them from property and this sort of thing. And there was a lot of people turning up who were concerned about that justice was no longer impartial, that there was presumption of guilt, there was no burden of proof on the accuser, and these sorts of things, which are very big issues, by the way. You just arbitrarily accuse someone of something and then you can deprive them of their liberty and their property. I mean, that's insane. Nobody would want that. But the way the globalist-controlled government was arguing was that we're in an epidemic of violence against women, and therefore truly drastic laws must be put in place to protect women. And who would be against protecting women and children? Women with little tiny babies, by the way, tiny babies who would in future grow up to be black lesbians. You've got to protect them. I mean, gee whiz, are you against that? I mean, are you a Nazi or something? So this was the subject matter of this public town hall meeting. And I was sort of the overwhelming majority of people were there to point out it was a problem, and there were some politicians, and there was a judge there, and some heavyweight lawyers, and so on. Now they were all on the side of the government. The drastic laws were needed, but they were there pretending at least to listen to the public's concerns. But there were a few people in there who jumped up, and one guy saying, well, my daughter's being continually beaten by her husband, and then her next boyfriend was beating her, and there was something too slick and scripted about the guy. He just seemed to be reading from a script. He just got that impression, and he didn't look like the sort of guy that would have that family situation. And there were a few other people in there and the chair who was deciding who would get listened to was continually coming back to these three people and giving them an unusual amount of airtime, and even silencing other people who had quite legitimate issues. And to hear now all of these three people were on the side of drastic laws are needed because these terrible things are happening, and and they were even arguing the opposite, that there's no laws to protect women at all. When there's laws for assault and battery, that there are lots and lots of laws on the book. So the idea that special laws, special gender laws are needed, which create, of course, gender conflict, which is what the globalists want. But these three people were arguing for it. So I thought, well, this just doesn't look right. And I tried to engage a couple of them in conversation as the meeting was breaking up and have a chat to them. And that just confirmed my view that neither of them were genuine, but they were quite shy of talking about it. And again, they had that look that they were set up to do it. At least that was my take on it. So some weeks later, I'm just in a supermarket getting some groceries, and but this is a long way from where this meeting was, probably a good 40 plus miles maybe away, and lo and behold, who do I bump into but one of the guys from this meeting. And so I'm talking to him and trying to get it out of him, because I was pretty sure where the conversation was going to go. He's an actor. And he was paid, given a script to memorize or the talking points to memorize. He was a paid actor to go in there and pretend that his daughter was getting beaten black and blue by these wicked, evil men. There was, the guy doesn't have a daughter, for Christ's sakes. So he's an actor paid to do this. And I bet money that the other two people were, and that the chairman of the meeting was given these people's names in advance to make sure they were called on, and took up most of the time. And one of them in particular talked forever about just nonsense bullshit, and they gave him more time again, and thus denying people with a genuine grievance the time to speak. And then they ended the meeting by saying, well, look, there are people on both sides saying it. Some say it's not enough, some say it's too much, and we can't decide. Clearly the public is split down the middle on this, when that was bullshit. 100% of the people there were against it and believed it was injurious, not just to the justice system, but to the whole concept of gender relations and so on. It was only the people they planted, the actors that they'd scripted and planted there. So this shows the extent that they'll go to stack the deck and rig the game and orchestrate the process. If they leave it to natural, if you like, let's call it market forces, leave it to natural market forces, nobody wants this crap. So they have to push it on us by stealth, misinformation, propaganda, and again, rigging the game and stacking the deck, marking the cards, if you will. So now there was a second incident. This was a little bit separate. I had to drive past a major intersection, probably one of the busiest intersections in Sydney, and there's a pub that or a bar, bar and grill that sort of fronts onto the corner, so that when in busy traffic days and the traffic lights, where you seem to be there forever, you can kind of, from all directions, you can see the front of this bar that's kind of curls around a corner, and it's got seating right on the window at the front there. Now, during peak hour, there was a whole bunch of people that were sat there that were all mixed race couples. Now, what struck me straight away was these mixed race couples. There would be one, these are like the top of the town fashion model looking people. They were dressed in the latest clothes. They were all super fit and buff. The hair gel, everything was manicured to perfection, and they just all of these very manicured, gilded people are all sitting on the front there. Now, if there was a super good-looking girl, she'd be with an ordinary guy of another race, or on the other way, if there was some super male model guy, he'd be with a pretty ordinary girl. So they had that type of thing, but they were all along the front there, and I thought, I can't believe this. You don't get that many good-looking people like that in one place at one time ever, unless maybe, I don't know, it's they're auditioning with some modelling contract or something like that. But this is just a random group in a bar and grill, and that's bullshit. So, and it just didn't look right. So so just off my own bat, I went and inquired from the owner of the bar and grill, and it wasn't there the first time. It was the next time I went back, and so I just asked, did anyone book those seats along the front there? And he went, yeah. This government department came in, said they wanted to book all the seats on the front for 2 hours, which covered the peak of the peak hour. And so they put these mixed race couples there. This was at the same time when the government was having a propaganda campaign about mixed race couples and that sort of thing. So I don't know how many places they did that around, in this case Sydney, but again, it shows how artificial and orchestrated and stage managed it is. Let's look at something like Christine Blasey Ford for Brett Kavanaugh. Now, for days they kept her out of circulation while they stage managed the whole event. They'd have had her in front of the video camera with all sorts of advisors. Now, Christine, this is how you have to have your hair. No, we need these glasses. It makes your eyes look bigger. You look like more of a victim. No, that put on a whiny voice. No, more whiny. No, more whiny than that. Okay, that's it. That whiny voice, those glasses, your hair falling down over you. It makes you look like you're about to cry. Oh, yeah, and let's dress you like this and so on. So it was a stage-managed, orchestrated, scripted, choreographed piece of bullshit. And this is what they're doing all over the place now. And there's so many things. They're inserting actors and all sorts of plays in there that are scripted. They've been sat for days in front of the cameras, about how they hold their head, how they look, what to say, what to do, all this sort of stuff. Full on media training. And this is something that the public, we need to make sure that this is exposed and fully exposed. And we just got to get that message out there, because this is what they're doing, and it's quite widespread. Now, there are other situations where activists are given very soft interviews and so on, whereas anyone opposing globalisation is giving a very tough interview. And again, there's always the government can always do an extremely rigorous financial audit on your taxation and come up with something. I don't think anyone can withstand a super rigorous audit. They'll find a dollar somewhere. And then there's the other side of it where there's the little wife of the girl with the torn blouse. He tried to rape me. This sort of thing. There's always that. They can produce this sort of stuff on demand if you get in the way. But ask Brett Kavanaugh, for goodness sakes. So there are the soft interviews and the actors and the activists who may also be actors. So there's a soft interview about, again, the violence against women here and how women aren't safe walking down the street. So this very unattractive activist. I don't believe anyone is attempting to engage in intimate relations with this person. But she's on a TV show, and we're talking about, she's supposed to be the expert, very low IQ, and they're talking about again this violence against women. Women can't walk down the streets. It's not safe anywhere. It's not safe apparently. And the woman sits in, well, yeah, I was sexually harassed twice, and on the way here, just walking down the road to get to the studio here, and someone tried to rape me as well. Now, clearly that's absurd. I mean, that's beyond absurd. A radical activist happens to be harassed twice, and looking like she did, by the way, and someone attempts to rape her on the way. Now, any interviewer who's even somewhat independent would say, you've got to be kidding. You're a fucking liar. Don't give me that crap. You're an activist. Get out of here if you're not worth interviewing. But instead, the interviewer go, oh, is that right? Oh, wow. Well, yeah, okay. That's just more evidence that women are in danger everywhere, and more evidence that we need harsh laws. So these agent provocateurs in all sorts of shapes, sizes, and forms are being inserted in all parts of the wider public discourse, pushed by the activists on social media and, of course, the mainstream media. And they're using any and every device. It could be actors. It could be anything. Stage managed events. Jussie Smollett, people are trying to I don't know, lynch him in the street or something when he's trying to get a sandwich, or, you know, like things that are so fantastic. But you have to understand that they can do these incredibly ridiculous things, but because they control the mainstream media and social media, they can kind of get away with it, or partly get away with it. So we have to push back by pointing out what's going on, and these are some of the ways we can do it. You've been with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining.